can you talk about going to Shadowbrook and hanging out with Bev?
Yes.
Yeah.
What would you like to know? I did that a lot.
Yeah, I know. I will know. Specifically, there was a time when Stan called you and said Monica had a gun, is going to kill me, and and you drove over.
Yes.
Why don't you break that one down? Break that story down, if you would.
That was an interesting evening. We were in. Luckily, my dad was home at the time. We were in New York, and Stan called, and he answered the phone, and he's like, "You've got to come out here." Now, Shadowbrook was about 40 minutes from the city, and it was like 9 o'clock at night. So Stan's like, "You've got to get out here. Monica has a gun. She's going to kill me. You have to get out here." And my dad's like, "Okay, all right." So he grabs me. I'm like, "What are we going to do?" He's like, let's go downstairs. We'll get in the car and we'll just drive out there. I'm like, "Okay." What if she really does have a gun? What if she
Yeah, right.
Just get in the car. So knowing Monica as I did, it's not too far-fetched. So,
oh, man.
Out we go, and we drive out to Shadowbrook, and we get there, and Monica answers the door, like, very calm. She just looks at us like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" We're like, okay, my dad and I are looking at each other now, like, okay, are we insane, or what's going on? So she invites us in, and she makes tea and whatever, and everything's calm and fine, and Stan's in the library, and we go in the library, and he's just sitting there with, like, a look on his face, and obviously, I don't know if she had threatened him and said, if you say anything when they get here, I will kill you all, or, I have no idea, but we just kept looking at each other, for the hour or whatever that we spent there, because Stan was pretending like nothing happened, and Monica, as she would do, was pretending like nothing was going on, and, we all sat there having tea, like, in a very, surreal, crazy way.
That is that is bizarre. Oh, that is bizarre.
It was the weirdest freaking thing you could ever imagine. Because we just kept, like, because she and I just kept looking at each other like, okay, what's going on here? And, we tried to keep getting Monica out of the room so Buddy could say, what's going on?
Right. Get her out of there, yeah.
He wouldn't say anything. It's like, I don't know. To this day, I have no idea what was going on.
You left. So you left.
Everything was fine.
Yeah, you left the house without ever addressing his original phone call.
Ever. Absolutely. It never got resolved, never said another word. I mean, to this day, not another word was ever said about it. I don't know.
but I mean, you know that phone call did occur, and that your dad was talking to Stan.
And I was actually in the car driving out there, and that we sat in that ridiculous room pretending that everything was fine, that we're having tea, and that was it. Nothing was ever said. So I don't know. I'm thinking either she had someone pointing a gun at Stan's head, or in another part of the room, and so he couldn't say anything. Well, I don't know. It was crazy.
That is unbelievable.
But then a lot of crazy things happened in that house. So
I want to ask you about, as objectively as you can, how did it impact Beverly and the kids? That kind of, because what you just talked about is insane, and that was happening when Stan was not on the road. That was happening all the time.
Yes.
So I mean,
all the time.
How did
I can imagine, because my dad was so straight ahead, and so it was like the alternate universe to my life.
Right.
Having a parents that were completely straight. That were, just regular parents, and, except my dad had a different kind of job. And then you go to the Getz household, and it was nothing but crazy. So I think Bev, I can't speak for Pam and David and Steve and Nikki, but I can certainly speak, for Bev, is that I think her sense of humor and her, ability to look at the situation with humor, and, because she and I would just, go in a room and we'd be hysterical laughing at what was going on. I'm sure somewhere in her, it has taken a toll, but she never let it get the better of her. You know, she was always, you know, one of the most straight-ahead people I've ever known. And I would look at her sometimes and say, how do you do that? Because she would be able to just say anything that was on her mind and to anybody, and I was really shy. And, you know, it's kind of reversed now. Because I now can say anything, and I think she's turned shy.
Right. Interesting.
You know, it's weird. But I used to look at her and go, how do you do that? How do you just say whatever you feel? I used to be like, I just do. And yet, you know, she never let what was going on in the house or in her life, or, you know, living with a drug addict, alcoholic, you know, father, and a crazy stepmother. She never, ever let it get the better of her. And, you know, God bless her, because, I don't know, a lesser person would have, you know, jumped off a bridge.
Well, I mean, I interviewed Bev for the first time over the weekend, and she definitely forgave her father every time, and
yes.
Let that stuff go. But there are a lot of scars too. I mean, it's like really. I can with my own family. I'm 38. You know, I have a wife,
right.
2 kids. It's like I know dysfunction. I understand it. But in a 36-room Gershwin mansion with booze and unlimited drugs and an insane woman. I mean, Monica was. Was she totally sort of? I forgot the word.
Monica was like a split. She was like a split personality. She would put on that sweet. I mean, when I first met her, I thought, this is the most lovely woman I've ever met. Just sweet and accommodating, and you know, would just invite you into the home and just be, you know, food and whatever you wanted, and stay for as long as you want. But then she would turn into this, you know, other person. It was like Jeckyl and Hyde, and you know, was evil to Bev and evil to the other Getz kids. Except, you know, she was like the classic stepmother, where her 2 biological kids were treated like gold, and then the other 3 were like, you know, pushed to the wayside.
I dig.
That's
right.
Scary, right there.
Well, that is. Well, but I mean, what's really scary is that you could say Stan Getz was Jeckyl and Hyde too. You had 2 Jeckyl and Hydes in the house. I mean, that is. Let me just tell you one thing. Go ahead. Yeah.
Tell you one thing.
Yeah.
In all the years that I knew Stan, I never saw that side of him.
I know,
Never.
and you're like I know, and you're like the 20th cat that like has said that. I mean, Johnny Mandel said it. He goes, Stan was always beautiful to me, but I know the stories, and everyone says I know the story. Now, some cats, I mean, I know, but that's the part of it that is. I mean, I just interviewed Steve Getz today, and you know, here this cat, Stan locked the whole family out of the house, and then or shut them out, and then Monica asked Steve to go in and see what was going on. So Steve's walking through each room of the house, and all of a sudden he walks into the kitchen, and there's Stan, and he has his head in the oven trying to kill himself.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, and then he doesn't remember it.
Yeah.
I mean, can you talk about going up there to hang with Bev, and then some kind of hilarity that sent you into stitches in your room, where it was enough that she could keep her sense of humor and laugh about it, but...
Well, yes, because, I mean, we went there for Thanksgiving, I think. You know, I was up there all the time, so holidays would come and go, and Monica would try to, you know, she'd put on this front of, and you know, now that I'm older, I think I can sort of understand why, because you want to maintain some semblance of normalcy in this crazy circus life.
That's
so
right.
She would, you know, lay out these incredible meals and, you know, do these incredible things and decorate the home and have it be, you know, beautiful. And then in the next 5 minutes, there's food flying everywhere and people are screaming, and it's complete, you know, insanity. And Bev and I are running upstairs and locking ourselves in her room and just, you know, looking out the door going, wow, this is crazy. Who thought Thanksgiving was going to happen like this? And we just, you know, watch TV and laugh about it. So
it was like,
you know,
it was almost like she was able to joke about it because Bev was able to make humor about it because it was just a normal thing.
Well, see, that's the thing too, is that you can, when you come from, you know, that kind of crazy, you have to make it normal,
right?
Because that's your life. And, you have to figure out a way to make something normal out of something so crazy. I think she did it.
This is so fascinating. I mean, I really, to me, it's such a cool. I mean, jazz was a subculture for many years, and and really, your dad and Stan were two white cats who could play this music,
right.
And yet Stan was about as a heavy drug and alcohol abuser as you could find. Your dad was straight ahead. I'm amazed your dad would go up there for a holiday like Thanksgiving and be able to handle a turkey leg flying in the air. I mean, what was his? Tell me how he felt about.
I think he was protective of Stan, and the reason that we flew up there that night when he was saying that Monica was threatening him with the gun is that my dad had a really big heart, and I think that he felt that, well, I'm going to go up there at, whatever cost is going to be, thank you, Dad, he brought me along.
Yeah, right.
But whatever, I'm going to go up there and help my friend. And that, I think, speaks to, how my dad's personality really was, is that he would go there for Stan. Because I think he was trying to, however when you're not in that sort of drug world, I don't know that you really understand it. So you think that, well, maybe it's just my presence there can help. And 9 times out of 10 it doesn't. But, in some way, you think it is. Just by me being there, maybe it won't get crazy, or maybe, Stan will feel better having a friend here. So that was kind of the idea behind it.